welcome along to our second Six Nations special, Meet the Fans Public Opinion Forum. My name is Neil. Obviously, you're joined from the In at the Side crew, Dom Hardman with me. We are also joined this week by Olivia Cadet, French fan.
Yes.
Also Terry Bateman from Wales, and Rab Higgins, I believe, from Ireland. How are you doing, gents? You all right?
Very good, thanks, mate.
Thank you. Right.
Excellent.
Depressed, to be honest.
We'll get on to that. We'll delve deep and poke the pain. Don't worry.
Don't say that. We're a mental health team, Rab.
Right. So let's cut to the court. Obviously, we're here to review the Six Nation games. So this weekend just gone, we had some absolute crackers of games. We had some really, really good games. So first off, we had England versus Italy. Obviously, the score there, 41-18 to England. And I mean, we'll come straight to you, Dom. What do you think was different? Do you think they were better? Do you think what was your opinion on the game?
I mean, I think they were obviously most certainly better than the week before, but I think by no means, as a England fan myself, and certainly some of the boys we were watching with on Zoom were too impressed. I mean, to let Italy score first in a relatively soft try was really sort of set the tone for the afternoon beers. But I mean, at the end of the day, it's tournament rugby. You got to get your wins. They got the win, and I think he'll be looking at the squad using this break to maybe make a few switches. A few of the Sarries boys looking a bit tired out there from not playing. And like I say, quite a few penalties going on from the front five. So. Overall, a good game, good to get the win. But, I mean, you never like to concede first to Italy, and probably not 18 points either, if I'm honest.
Oh, yeah. No, I understand. And obviously, we're not joined by an Italy fan, but we've got to, look at things from their point of view as well. I mean, was it the case of England playing poorly to let them in, or do you think that Italy, deserved the points they got and that sort of thing? Was it one side in that way?
I think, they definitely deserve the points. I don't know what it is about England. We seem to take a few minutes to switch on and start getting the first tackles in. And all credit to Italy. They've got as long as listed injuries as anyone at the moment, looking at their squad. But, we had this debate last week. Can they compete? And 18 points on England, I'd say that's quite a good scalp for them, to be fair. But yeah, like I say, good. I think positive result from them, but definitely, a lot more to work on.
Yeah, and obviously, the name. I do apologise, but the name has slipped my mind. But we had the guy who had his debut, scored a try on his debut, and then got injured 10 minutes later. Horrific injury.
Jack Willis. So obviously a partner of the Dodgers, Brave Mind, ambassador for them. I think they've been in contact. I think he's obviously gutted. He's on the sidelines for a long time before that. Yeah. And he's had a fantastic Premiership season coming into this, absolutely miles and miles ahead of anyone else in the position. And, 1 minute you see him screaming, with joy, and then the next one it's, screaming in pain. And, regardless who you support, no one wants to see that.
Yeah, well, you knew it was bad when they wouldn't play the replay straight away. I wouldn't even watch it when they did, because stuff like with knees and ankles and things just make me cringe. It's and I feel for him. So hopefully speedy recovery for him. And it's just not ideal, but it's one of those things. What about you guys? Have you got anything to add about the England Italy game? Did you guys watch it?
Yeah, I watched it live. Didn't watch it back on the replay, I'll be honest with you. Yeah. I thought Italy were extremely good value for their 18 points. Very, very good value. Yeah. I thought to a certain extent the scoreline flattered England. Yeah. Gutted for Willis. I think along with him and Thomas Young, they're probably the two best flankers in the Premiership, in my opinion.
Yeah.
They're awesome. Why does Eddie Jones assist with Billy Vunipola at 8? I will never know. Don Brand would be my man.
He's looking massively out of shape, isn't he, Billy? Massively out of shape.
It's I don't understand it. There must be something more to it than we see. Personally, I think you've got to get away from the big lump that can lumber in. I think you've got to get more ball players in there if you want to play a quick game, and that's what Eddie Jones says he wants to play. But why does he keep persisting with the likes of Farrell, with the likes of Youngs, when they're supposed to be building for the next World Cup?
Yeah. Well, I mentioned this the other day, and I think that we're in a dangerous position of going the way of football and picking people for their names, not on form. And I personally wouldn't have any Saracens players in the squad. I think the team needs to be picked of Premiership players that are on form. And like I said the other week, we were better in terms of this week, but last week, it was like watching schoolboy rugby. Kick. Nothing on. Let's kick it again. And yeah, I wasn't that much more impressed this week, if I'm honest. But let's hope we could.
I'll be honest with you. My opinion is, if England had played France on Saturday, France would have absolutely torn them to pieces, because I think the French are playing exciting rugby. I think they are, without doubt, the most improved of the Six Nations teams.
Yeah.
And they always say, you never want to come up against a France team and give them any space.
Yeah.
And I think, looking at the game, there was so much space there from the English defence, even though the press were lording over it. The next few weeks are going to be very, very interesting.
Yeah.
I was so disappointed with the selection for the Italy game.
Yeah. I
looked at it and I thought to myself, all the changes that could have been made, everybody that he stuck with, everybody already knows what they can do.
Yeah.
We know that Ben Youngs needs a dominant pack in order to be effective.
Yeah.
So they were always going to be, at least it was pretty dominant against an Italian pack that would tire towards the end. So you're not learning anything new there. Yeah. And I just, Billy, there was a newspaper headline in Ireland that said that if the pubs weren't shut, we would swear that Billy had been in the pub since lockdown.
Yeah, he's looking at actually, isn't
he was puffing and blowing. It's why he got yellow carded.
Yeah.
He just wasn't so far off the pace. I thought Farrell was the same. I thought Daly was the same. George was the same. George I'm a huge Jimmy George fan. I'm a hooker myself. Huge Jimmy George fan, and thought it was his worst game I've ever seen him play in an England shirt.
Yeah.
And the front row was right to be changed. But I just thought there was a real opportunity. The young lad at 12, what must he be thinking?
Yeah.
Is Owen Farrell untouchable, undroppable? What should have happened is Farrell should have been told to go away and work on his fitness. Yeah. Billy should have been told, you're a finisher now until you get yourself down to the weight that we need you at, and like I say, Young's gone, all the rest of it, and bring Ford in and let the young lad, give that young lad loads of ball against it was the 60th or 70th minute before he got a run against the Scots. Give him a run, let him take the Italians on, let's see what he's got.
Yeah.
I'll return to this theme later on with Ireland as well. But I was, I'm a big Exeter Chiefs fan. I lived in Devon for 11 years. And I can't understand why is Sam Simmons and Joe Simmons, have they upset Eddie Jones in some way?
It's the European, that's a head scratcher.
Premiership champions, and he doesn't even, they're not even in the squad.
That's mad.
Sorry, rant over.
No, that's fine. That's what we want. We've only touched on the England-Italy game so far, AD. Do you have any thoughts or comments on that game? Did you watch that one at all?
To be honest, I watched bits of it. I only caught highlights of it. I was surprised at how long it took England to dominate the game. I suppose Italy put up a good fight for a bit, and I'm sure England maybe weren't worried, but certainly they came at them for a bit, didn't they? I was expecting a 50-pointer, and to be fair to Italy, okay, it's still a doing, but it's a lot better than last week's.
Well, for them to score almost instantly, I think that put England on the back foot and they were shocked straight away.
Definitely.
So yeah, I mean, fair play to Italy though. You know, they're coming on leaps and bounds, and it's good to see.
Yeah, it's one of those. England won't be satisfied with that though. You know, that's not. They'll go. Yeah, it's a win. Yeah. Happy to do it, and yeah, we put some points on the board, but want a 50-pointer.
Yeah,
you know.
And what about yourself, Olivier? Did you watch the England game?
Yeah, of course. You know, for us French, just for Welsh and Irish, England is our beloved enemies, you know. But still, it's quite sad because I believe that we have seen the end of the system, you know. England has won too many games against France by playing a system, playing with cakes and with strength. But here in France, and I think Irish and Welsh had only to the game of England. And now I think it's the end of a system for England. And here in France, we are quite proud to show that once again in the 21st century, rugby can be thought as a way to win games. I think that just as you said, England should think of the next World Cup and try to begin to prepare. And instead of, it's a lack of creativity. And when you think...
I think we might have lost them there.
England want to be able to once again the World Cup.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I mean, it's interesting to say that it's quite sad to see England almost going backwards and not playing progressive rugby, which is what we've been known for certainly the last 10 years, I believe. Well, maybe not that long, but certainly for a long time. And like I said last week, I believe genuinely believe England are going backwards and every other team are going forwards, and we're going to be at the bottom of the list before long.
I think it was very, very telling, like Rab said, you know, with the greatest respects to Italy, you always use the Italy game in the Six Nations to try something new, blood new players, you know, even give Marcus Smith 60 minutes, you know, something like that. Ben Spencer, even if he's not in your long-term plans, just, you know, chuck him a half and see what he does, you know, and if he doesn't, you know, he's probably, you know, he's on form. He's more likely to have a good game. If he doesn't, you know, you just reevaluate. And to go with pretty much the same side, which was pretty stagnant against the Scots the week before, was, you know, has he run out of ideas, old Eddie Jones?
Well, I'll give him a ring. I'll ask him.
If I could just put in, it wasn't just against the Scots that they'd run out of ideas. If you think back to the Autumn Nations Cup, that game against a French, a weekend with, like I say, I was second or third string French team, and England were still lacking in creativity. I think it's not just an English malaise at the minute. I think it's going through a lot of teams. By the French.
No, of course. Right, well, we'll move on to the next match then. You came just in time, Adi. You're actually on mute at the moment. I don't know if you meant to do that, but obviously the next match was Scotland-Wales, 24 to Scotland, 25 to Wales. Now, before we get onto it, we mentioned last week that we believed this was going to be the game of the weekend, and in my opinion, it was. Wow, a nail biter. First off, Terry, are you ever going to win a game against 15 players?
As long as the opposition play within the rules, we probably will be able to. My honest opinion is that the red card on Saturday was harsh.
Right.
I think a yellow would have sufficed in that instance. The totally different to the Omani. I mean, I'm sorry, Rab, but Omani.
Oh, I no arguments from this end.
You know, that was 100% thuggery. I think Ferguson came in with an intent to cause damage without a shadow of a doubt. Otherwise, he wouldn't have come in with his arm dropped down by the side. But the mitigating circumstances that the TMO provided that Parley ignored, I think there was a little bit of mitigating circumstances. So by the letter of the law, it was a red and it was correct. By giving a bit of empathy towards rugby and towards players, then I think it should have been a yellow. Would that have affected the outcome of the game? I don't think so, because it's been said many, many times that when you play with a man down and Neil, we've played with less than 14 on more than one occasion.
Yeah.
You tend to up your match. You tend to put in 110%. You've always got that extra yard of pace.
Yeah.
I think the result was. I wouldn't have been too disappointed. Well, I would have been disappointed, but I wouldn't have been surprised if it had gone the other way. And I've got that much respect for the Scots and Irish because obviously we're part of the same tribe.
All of you, aren't you?
Yeah, we're all brothers.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, would it have affected the game? I don't think so, because I mean we were on the ascendancy 10 minutes before halftime and 10 minutes after halftime. Yeah. It's a difficult one.
In terms
but
of
at the end of
sorry. Carry on. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
But at the end of the day, I'll take 2 from 2 because I'll be honest with you, I thought we were going to be 0 from 2.
Yeah, and in terms of actually how they played, I forget the result, forget how close it was. Were you happy with the actual Welsh performance as a whole?
Overall, yes.
Mm-hmm.
Overall, yes. I don't like Pivac as a coach. I really don't. I think we should have got the person I would have wanted would have been Dai Young.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. It's a very difficult one. There were some things I don't like. I don't agree with some of his selections.
Right. Who would you have in instead, or who would you change?
No, to a lot of Welsh people, this is probably sacrilege, but I think Alan Wynne-Jones is not necessarily at his best.
Mm-hmm.
I think Adam Beard had a fantastic game at second row.
Yeah.
I would be inclined to go with Beard and Rowlands at second row. Jake Ball should not be anywhere near the squad because he's made his decision to go to Japan and he's not going to be there for the future. So why have him in there? You could bring in somebody else. My back row, I love the thought of Tipuric and Lydiate and Faletau because when they were on form, they were the best in the world. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm a great Thomas Young fan, but he's not in the mix. There's a lot of things there. The one thing that did blow me away was again Lewis Rees-Zammit.
Come on. I obviously see the Gloucester shirt behind you there, and I'm an avid Gloucester fan, as you know, and it was great to see him literally it was almost like toying with the opposite backs. He knew where to put the ball, what to do with it, and the pace on the guy. Jeez.
Yeah, it's like ridiculous. A Ferrari. Once he got that ball, it was like a Ferrari against a dump truck.
Yeah.
It was that
and the
simple.
Dump truck would gas any one of us. It was a bit harsh, I agree. But
let's be honest, Adi. I mean, I've looked at that so many times, and he just doesn't look like he's moving. But then all of a sudden, Hogg is no slouch. That guy can run.
Yeah. And what would you tip? Would you tip Zammit for the Lions? Take your Welsh hat off for a minute. Just your.
Yeah.
I agree with you. I personally.
Yeah.
Definite bolter for the Lions. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, to be honest with you, my back three would be the Scottish wing, the South African guy, Van der Merwe, Van der Merwe, whatever they call him, Johan Van der Merwe. Yeah. I'd have him, Zammit, and Hogg. That would be my back three. That would scare any team.
I agree. And on the other side, AD, I mean, I have to say, I've never been so gutted to see Scotland lose a game in my. Genuinely, I was jumping up and down.
To be honest, Terry kind of took the wind out of my sails. He came in the most sense I've heard coming out of Welshman.
The reason behind.
No, I think, to be honest, we saw the red card the same way. I think obviously that was the game changer.
Yeah.
We still managed to dominate a lot of the possession on the game, but then struggled to turn it into points.
Yeah.
There was a lot of possession, a lot of time. The Welsh defence was just unbelievable. It was phenomenal. We weren't making ground, and with not having with having an extra man on the pitch, you were just stifling the Scottish attack. Earlier, obviously, the first half, we were putting little probing kicks through, mixing it up, putting it beyond you, little chips through for people to land on, and quite, it was sort of expansive kicking rather than just the boot it up the park, and hopefully you contain the opposition. But when you were defending, when we were a man down, the Welsh defence you just didn't give us a chance really. The chances that we eventually did manage to get, we weren't able to turn them over. We were a bit daft to obstruct the guy on the line, to give him a channel to go and get over the line and score that try. It was unfortunate. I think had the leading guy, had the player in front of the actual ball carrier had the ball, he may have scored a try. But it's one of those things that the guy was obstructing. It was ref called it correctly. I must admit, I agree with you as well. I did think it was a little bit on the soft side. If anybody, on the call is a prop or is certainly a bona fide member of the pack, if you've been battling and you're just pulling your body up from the bottom of a ruck and you're running over the park, certainly front row, to come and see the next ball, man's on the ground, Welshman standing over the top of the ball, hunkered down and reaching, to go and, to step over and take the ball for Welsh possession. Of course, you're going to clear them out. But I think you nailed it, actually, Terry, by saying it was slightly different than the red card the previous week. The red card the previous week, the Irishman did lead with his shoulder and his arm, and there was out and out. You could see, I've done it. Neil's done it. Yeah. We've all been there. We've grabbed bits we shouldn't, but we just get the player out the way. Yeah. But it was different. That was a prop going in, putting his head down, tucking his head out the way, and dropping his shoulder probably as low as he could at that point to clear someone out. And he cleared out. I don't know whether it's quite a cute thing. Maybe it's something that players are going to start doing, and I probably don't want a head knock, but all you have to do is move your head a couple of yards. Not a yard, a couple of inches to the side, and you could get people sent off left, right, and centre.
Yeah,
that guy didn't look up and target his head. No chance.
No.
Yeah, he got a red card. It totally changes the game.
Well, I'll be able to get a few penalties with the size of my head.
Yeah. That's it. Now you're all right. We're getting penalties for that. I don't think that's happening yet. But my goodness, 2 on the trot, down to 14 men. Yeah, just move your head a little. You're wearing a scrum cap. Okay, he's coming in. He's off the pitch. And because you've moved your head 3 inches.
Yeah.
And that didn't happen in that instance, but it could do. It could come into the game now.
Yeah. Do you think
if refs are getting that hot on it, it's tiny margins.
Yeah. What were you going to say then, Dom? Sorry.
Do you think it's more about obviously the whole head contact is player safety?
Yeah.
But it's specifically wasn't malicious.
No, it wasn't.
Just clumsy, lack of technique, arguably. And
which is why I said a yellow card, because at the end of the day,
that would have been fair, Terry. Yeah, that would have been fair. And but I think had it been a yellow card, I do think we'd have hung on. So, but I think being a Welshman, you've got to be smiling today. 2 wins out of 2. Played great in bits, but not really strung a game together that you could say, against the 15 we'll come out dominant, but I'm happy with my points. I'll take my points.
Yeah.
Gutted we didn't finish you, to be honest.
I thought you were going to. I thought you were generally going to sneak it in the last week. Was it Hogg knocked it on?
It was up. I mean, my goodness me, I was off my seat. I was shouting at the telly. Yeah. I was bawling at the telly, The neighbours wouldn't be happy, but the telly got shouted at. I shocked the girls in Leanne. They were all like, "What's going on?" Yeah, I got there was a bit of passion flowing in the room.
It's good, but no, I mean, I have to say, from my point of view, it is amazing to see Scotland come through as strong as they have this year. I mean, I think if they'd have beaten Wales, I think the only team that would have beaten them this year, excuse me, Rab, would have been France. Genuinely.
I agree.
I still think we'll give France. I think we'll give France a good game. I think we'll push them. But yeah, if we can keep 15 men on the park, I've been really impressed this year with Scottish Pack.
Yeah,
I didn't quite appreciate how they've moved the pack forward. The pack has been, you know, okay, we lost the front row. That made a difference, but you know, okay, we had a juggle around. Who came off? The young boy in the backs came off, and he had a great game as well. They took him off, you know, and put in a front row forward, and actually, you know, he's pretty solid. The pack was, you know, the pack's been good. Yeah. You know, pack was strong.
Well, because think about it, I mean, and they are far from it, but you get the likes of, obviously, Finn Russell, you know, you got the captain Stuart Hogg. You'll forgive me for saying, but in previous years have kind of carried the team a little bit. But I think that this year the forwards have completely shortened that gap. Like you quite rightly said, the forwards are solid, strong, you know, dependable scrums. They get into the rucks. You know, the whole team is kind of leaps and bounds. And rather than, you know, it just being, you know, a standard team plus these superstars, if you like, they've all stepped up to the plate. And to see the emotion for losing that game on Saturday, it was like they'd lost the World Cup. And I completely understand. Because
it was one of those that was there for the taking.
Yeah.
You know, you get sent off. Yeah, fine, right. You got to deal with it. But that was a real pivotal moment, wasn't it? Yeah. But fair play to Wales. That young winger coming through, he's phenomenal. What, you know, great talent, young kid, playing an absolute blinder for you.
Yeah.
Aidy, the best way to describe it was that you guys lost that game. Well, or Wales won it, whichever way you want to look at it. It depends which colour you're wearing. By that.
Yeah.
That was that tap tackle on Van der Merwe as he came through.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, that's what was the difference. I do not believe the standing off of the prop affected the game that much. We could argue.
We'll disagree on that one. That's fine.
Yeah, exactly. One of those things that Scotland deserved to win, and so did Wales. It was one that could have gone either way. And I'm just personally, I'm happy being 2 from 2.
On the right side of it.
For a change.
Oh, we're used to it. Don't worry. You know, we're used to it. I just like seeing us coming out there. We've gone through periods where we've put together fantastic performances.
Yeah.
You know, for 60 minutes of a game, then lose it in the last 20. You know, it's like that's typically been what we've done. We've been camped on people's lines historically.
Yeah.
You know, for 40, 60 minutes. You know, and not being able to break down defences. This team can do that. We've seen, you know, I've seen that. But it's just, keep the guys on the pitch. Let's not lose anything silly. But Wales came back at us.
Yeah.
You know, and came back well. Some nice. The try coming through the middle. There's some really nice handling through the middle. You know.
Yeah.
You know, interlinking forwards, backs. It was good. It was some good rugby. You know, and it just hit us on the break, and that did the damage. You know, there was sort of 40 yards, you know, gained, you know, just through that little passage of play, and then that just opened up other opportunities for the try.
Yeah. But like you say, I mean, it was a cracker of a game. I've not seen a game that close, and I was on the edge of my seat, and I wasn't even supporting either team. You know, and I was sat there genuinely like, come on, shouting at the team.
Well, Scotland, what was it? Scotland, England, was it 35 all or 31 all?
38.
You know, when it was game of two halves. That was one of those games.
Yeah.
I think the whole of Wales and the whole of Ireland were probably shouting for blue that day as well. But
guilty.
That was the game when we're here. We're going to get an absolute hammering. Yeah. You know, one half in. Then the second half, I think, all right, okay, we'll make it respectable, right? We got a try back. That's good, right? Okay, see if we can get another one. All right, we got another one back. Well, hang on a minute. We got another one. Oh, wait a minute here. We might put an upset here, you know. And then it kept going. And then then leading the game, and then getting crushed and having a draw at the end. That's got to be, one of the games. One of the sort of most outstanding games of rugby ever. But
there's always two games.
It's a good one.
There's always two games I go to. If ever I'm feeling a little down and I want to remember being back home in Gloucester, I always watch that game, the 38-all, because obviously who doesn't like to see England get disappointed, and obviously the 30 points to 3, hammering we gave them. To deny them the Grand Slam as well. I agree with you.
Why are they both against England?
I'll be retracting your invitation for next week, Terry. Bloody right, Jesus Christ!
So before we move on to the next game, Rab, Olivier, do you have anything to add for this game?
I wasn't disappointed to lose against Wales the previous week. When I looked at the game. Unfortunately, I think I've put in mitigation that we had lost a man. But we're talking about Wales. They have improved a huge amount to this weekend playing against Scotland. But I didn't think they played well against us at all. But they've improved and they're 2 from 2. So fair play to them. The concern would be that the outstanding performances that they're putting out from Tipuric and Wyn-Jones and Alan Wyn-Jones seem to be on the defensive side of the ball.
That was like a brick wall, wasn't it? When Scotland was just hammering it, and Wales, and I thought, Jesus, I've never seen. Wales have always been known for good defence, but wow, that was something else Saturday.
Yeah, I just wondered. We've been saying about the man being down not making a difference. Personally, I think that's why. I think you're blunted in attack when you're a man down. There's not that same.
You can't draw the man. You can't open up the gaps. If you're a man down, you're always trying to make up extra ground. You've got to tighten up the middle, and then you've got to rush people wide to try and make the gap. So when you've got an extra man, you can pull the team around all over the place.
I think what had happened the previous week is that I think the Irish pack had outplayed the Welsh when Ireland had the ball in possession with territory, but the Welsh were just able to soak it up. And Ireland weren't able to give that killer punch because they were a man down. And I felt this very similar feelings with regards to how Scotland were attacking on against Wales on Saturday. That Wales just is almost like rope-a-dope, where they just stand back and let the other team punch themselves out. Yeah. And then when the extra man starts, boom, and then you're away and you find the spaces then.
Yeah.
I tend to agree with both of you to a certain extent. I think that's more in line with the Irish game because O'Mahony went off so early in the game.
Yeah.
I also think that the Irish backline have got far more spark. Sorry, the Scottish backline had far more spark than the Irish did.
I totally agree.
I still don't understand why they took off Darcy Graham. I think if they had taken off the open side or the blind side, well, probably the blind side, they'd have probably had more luck. And then just, on a scrum situation, drop in the winger, because the same thing would have happened. But I think Scotland could have played that.
I think you had a few rolling mauls on the go, and I think you were gaining quite a bit of ground through there. And true. I think we just need to wrap it up.
Yeah.
Or maybe Townsend spotted something and I thought, but you're right. Darcy Graham was playing well. Mm-hmm. But sorry, Terry. On you go.
No, it's fine. No, I'm done.
Yeah, perfect. Well, we'll move on
to Rab. Sorry, just a quick question for you. At 10, do you go Burns, Byrne, or Sexton?
Oh,
Or Madigan.
That's a whole. You could have a whole podcast on that on itself. For me, if you want to talk about Ireland, I think it's very much a case of the Sexton tail is wagging the IRFU dog, from what I can make out.
Okay.
It appears to me Johnny Sexton was 33 at the end of the last World Cup.
Yeah.
Thanks, Johnny. You've been brilliant, superb, but you're not going to be here in 4 years' time.
Mm-hmm.
And I honestly, I'm going to get. I think Johnny Sexton's a terrific player. He is terrific. He's still the best 10 in Ireland, but he's not going to be there in 4 years' time.
Where's his apprentice? Yep, sorry.
And it feels almost like it's a vanity project that he wants to play so that he can go on the Lions tour this year.
Yeah.
He's going to be in his 38th year come 2023.
So you're saying there's still out for me, Rab?
That means lockdown. I might come out.
If Tom Brady can do it, then maybe so. But he's lost Sexton's lost half a yard.
Yeah.
Well,
odds.
Well, we all have, yeah. Well, some of us lost. Some of us didn't even have half a yard to lose.
Well, no, Terry's the fastest bloke I know to cover half a metre. He just dies of death after that. But right, we'll get on to the France-Ireland game then. Obviously, another cracker, another very close game. France, the victors, eventually 15-13. Obviously, we've unfortunately lost Olivier due to signal issues. But Rab, what were your sort of observations of the game? What went well? What didn't? What would you change?
What went well was the set piece. We can see the influence of Paul O'Connell straight away in the lineouts. The scrums went very well. I thought Porter had the big French guy on toast certainly in the first half. He had him all ends up. So the set piece improved. I was really impressed with. Being an Ulsterman, I'm a huge Ian Henderson fan. I thought he really stood up and played really well this week, and as he had done against Wales the week before. I'm happy to see Henshaw and Ringrose starting to get a little bit of a run again in the centres, which is good. Happy to see Rhys Ruddock coming in, getting a bit more physicality into it. Great to see Tadhg Furlong coming back. I'm salivating at the thought of having Porter and Furlong terrorising scrums in the future. Yeah, the two of them are awesome. So I'm happy with that. Now, things I don't like. If I signed the checks at the IRFU, I would be calling Mike Catt into my office and asking him to get me a highlights clip of what he's meant to be doing as our attack coach, because I have seen nout. I've seen nothing that I didn't see 2 years ago under Joe. And I'm oh dear, a real lack of creativity. Someone touched on it there a minute ago. You're comparing the Scottish backline to the Irish backline. Oh, it's like, oh no,
almost.
Keith Earls, I feel sorry for him. All he's done is chase kicks because that's all we do. The succession planning that we talked about for 9 and 10 is just, we've already missed that boat, I think. We are doomed again to get our arses handed to us in the quarterfinals in the next World Cup. It just, a blind man and a galloping horse can see that you cannot throw a young man in at 10 minutes at the end of every game for a year, 6 months, 2 years, whatever, and then throw him into the cauldron at wherever, with any of these international stadiums, and expect him to do the job, and then crucify him when he doesn't.
That's the issue. It's the crucifixion. It's the crucifixion. It's what the Welsh public did to Alex Cuthbert, who was a star on the Lions tour, but because he had 2 or 3 bad games, not even bad games, mediocre games, they crucified him.
A couple of clangers. You see him running in for the Chiefs at the minute.
You got it.
Yeah. I mean, we just, I think, like I say, I think that we've already missed that boat. And now we need to find someone. We've had our issues with injuries and other shenanigans with Paddy Jackson and so on that hampered or hindered the succession planning. But even so, as I said, Johnny Sexton was 33 at the last World Cup.
Yeah. Thanks,
Johnny.
So Rab, how old is that Jameson Gibson Park? That the 9 from Saturday.
I think
he was okay. He was good.
I think he's about 26. But here's the thing: he's not even first choice at Leinster.
Yeah.
I mean, they spell him at Leinster, but again, that chance was missed. But again, Cooney was the best number 9 in Europe for a couple of seasons ago. There, he was bossing. I watched him when Ulster went to Bath. I watched that game. He bossed the Bath game. I went to watch him play when they played against Quins. He bossed that game, and you couldn't get a look in. And Conor Murray was playing on one leg at that time, and it just. We were talking earlier about players being picked on past, not what they're playing at this present minute in time within the England setup. I think Ireland are very guilty of that as well.
And do you worry? I mean, I'm worried personally as an England fan. We're not going to be ready for the next World Cup if we keep picking names and not people on form. We're going to have an aging squad, not Asian, sorry, and it just kind of, I don't know. I've gone from, being in the, as a kid, seeing England not really win much, be the also-rans, lose to Wales a lot, Ireland, that sort of thing, France especially, to then going right to the top of the game, world leaders in terms of pioneering rugby, to now, I think, personally, in my own opinion, going backwards. Kick. We had some of the best backs, attacking backs on the pitch, not the game just gone, the week before. And all they did was kick. I mean, Johnny May, he had a bit of a shock. He obviously made up for it this week. We'll get onto his try or no try shortly. But yeah, it's frustrating for me to see how we, almost the world leaders in terms of, wow, okay, England have changed things up. They're beating teams that they never. I mean, the best game I've ever seen England play was against the All Blacks. But we won't get too much onto that. But that was, and then to absolutely bottle it the next week was just typical England. But yeah, I mean, in terms of the game, I obviously watched the France-Ireland game, and it was very, very close. I mean, you saw what it meant to those French players to win in Ireland. I mean, I don't know the record. How long has it been?
It was 2011, 10 years since they last won.
Yeah.
Can I just say, you're saying there about it being close. I put down my little notes that I thought Ireland were a bit like a mouse and France were the cat, and France were just playing with us.
Yeah. Okay.
And whenever we started getting ideas above our station, i.e. we're going to score in the corner because you're a man down, France went, here's how we're going to show you how to play. 11 offloads to 3, full stop.
I mean,
the case rests. That just should not have. Do they not trust the players to play an offloading game? Do they not trust their core skills?
Yeah.
Because if they don't, Andrew Farrell has been there in some setup within this Irish setup for a long time.
Yeah.
I think some of this drops on his toes.
Yeah.
So I'm not. I disagreed at the time that Andy Farrell should not have been given the job at the time. It needed fresh eyes and a new system.
Yeah.
We didn't get it, but it is what it is now. Do we carry on for the next 2 years, letting him with the same setup, knowing that the same result will happen again? We'll be knocked out in the quarterfinals.
And who would you have in his place? Who would your choice be?
Well, the first thing I would have done whenever Wales, whenever you were daft enough to let Sean Edwards go, I'd have broke the bloody bank to get him.
Yeah.
Then I would have scarred the world for a head coach and told him, here's the condition, you work with Sean Edwards. And then we go from there.
He has revolutionised the French in such a short amount of time. I mean,
apparently he's got them all eating pies.
Was he?
But the thing is, guys, here's a side thing on this. Shaun Edwards left his legacy with Wales, right? We had an abysmal 2020. We had a defence like a sieve. Now all of a sudden we come into 2021. Who have they got there as defence coach now? Gethin Jenkins. Who did Gethin Jenkins learn a lot of his trade from? Shaun Edwards.
See, there's succession planning.
Yeah. No, it's really.
Even it may be subconsciously, but natural.
Yeah. Are we, in terms of the France line? Once again, my mind has let me go. Dupont. Thank you very much. Dupont. Are we generally seeing the best 9 in the world? Do you think there's a better 9?
At the moment, I think we are. Oh, and by the way, as I like to call him, ICI, not Dupont. You get the joke, Neil.
That's a local, that's an name everyone else gets.
I think we may be seeing even one of the best backs,
Right. No, that's interesting.
His longevity is what you've got to look at. It's how long is he going to keep this up?
Yeah.
That's the big thing. And the thing is, with the amount of pressure that's in rugby at the moment, a professional era, he is going to be demanded. It's going to be demanded by the rugby public, i.e. us, that he, and the French public, that he must keep up this level of performance. If he can do that, I think he'll be one of the world greats for forever. But that's a big if. That can, you can ask that of any good player.
Yeah, absolutely. You can only ask them to keep getting better each season. Personally, I still think I think this French team's only playing at 75%.
Oh, they're so young. They've not had that many caps between them. I think we could really be seeing their dominance in the next 3 to 5 years.
I really hope for their sake that they don't do in Ireland and we peak 2 years or 18 months for a World Cup. I hope they don't. I'd love to see the French winning it.
I generally believe that they'll get to the final, certainly, at the next World. If they carry on progressing like they are with the young squad, they've got it right. They've got the timing right. The players are all coming through. They've got 2 World Cups in them, I think. It's just. Yeah, I mean, it's great to see, though. We said this last week that it's cyclical almost. When I was a kid, like I said, England weren't mid-table every year. France were absolutely dominating, smashing every team during the Grand Slam. Ireland were up there, Wales, but
in the 70s we were, because I was a kid in the 70s.
So right, okay. Was that when the Diplodocus was walking around? No, I'm joking. But no.
Big word for you,
in all seriousness, it's great to see, peaks and troughs, things like this. But look, we mentioned last week that to get the best from every team, you need 6 strong teams in 6 nations. And we broached on the subject. I mean, what do you do with Italy? Do you have maybe 2 Six Nations, like a top tier and a lower tier, with like Georgia, Russia, whoever in the bottom, and then you have relegation and promotion? Then that would be fair to maybe 1 year if Italy went down, it might be England at this rate, but you'd then have
Ireland.
It could be Ireland, but then you'd have Georgia come up, and then I think it would keep it a lot fresher, and it would bring on the so-called second-tier nations exponentially. It would, really push them forward. So
there's arguments to and from that. That's a very difficult one. Do I support relegation? Yes, as long as it's not Wales. Same as anybody else would say for their own team. Let's be honest, because
you can always get relegated, mate. The way they're playing,
you can always have a poor season. Look at the Premiership. Gloucester have gone to the rats because
we're right. They changed the rules for us, Terry. We're not going to get relegated.
Yeah. I know that, but it's difficult. Would you want to see one of the big? Let's say the big 5. You wouldn't want to see one of the big 5 go down and have to play, second division international rugby. Because you'd be getting 70, 80, 100 point hammerings on these other teams like Germany, Romania, and all those. So is that going to benefit them at all? What you've got to look at is how do they make the Six Nations and how do they make Italy more competitive? I think this year, judging by the first 2 games, I think they are competitive.
Yeah.
Given whatever else is around. What you also got to remember is Italy have played Georgia a couple of times in recent years and have beaten them every time.
Yeah.
Well, so is there going to be a benefit of bringing Georgia up? I think what you said about more competitive games for the Tier 2, yes. And more fundraising for Tier 2, yes. But at the moment, I would say you leave the Six Nations as it is, unless Italy are losing by 90, 100 points in every single game, not scoring, not looking professional, then you'd have to look at it. But at the moment, I mean, who are they playing next week? Next game, I don't.
Ireland.
Right. Ireland next week, is it? Yeah.
I mean, no offense to you, Rob, but you could be the ones that fall on the sword with them. They've not played Scotland yet.
There'll be no crowing here from before that game. I'm hopeful.
No, they've done us over a couple of times in the past.
And us, yeah.
And
I think.
Sorry, Rob, go on.
I think the problem, and this is also slightly applies to Scotland as well, is they only have 2 teams to pick from. By the time you pull a few imports, a few foreign-based players or ineligible players for your national side in to bolster your league form, you've only maybe got 10, 12, 15 players eligible for the national team. You double that for the 2 teams, there's 30 guys. Yeah. You know what I mean? Scotland are fortunate now. Some of their best players play outside of the country, but they're still working off 2 teams. They seem to be doing pretty well. I think the Italians will struggle for as long as that happens. And also, you know, it's a vastly less popular sport compared to soccer in Italy. You know, it's That's just my thought. I think Italy will be as they are for
a long time.
Forever.
It takes a while.
I can't see any way around it.
As well as I suppose we talked about it a little bit last week, but you need to get a reasonable fan base. You know, get people behind the sport. You know,
but not just the internationals.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The internationals sell out, no problem. But you look at a Pro 14 game from Newport or something there of a Friday night, and it's not one man needs dog, but you know, they ain't bursting the seams, you know.
Yeah. No, it's interesting to see, and you know, I mean, we'll get on to we'll move on because I'm conscious of time. We're coming on slightly, but. One thing I wanted to mention, going back to the England game, I regret I didn't mention it at the time. I did mention it earlier. Now, I'm going to say that Johnny may try. The reason I'm saying that is, I mean, in terms of athletic ability, wow. To get that ball down before his foot touched the floor, brilliant. I mean, it was great. As an England fan, I was jumping up and down. However, Mr. Owens has come out recently with a very interesting point. That it was technically illegal. You are not allowed to jump a tackle. Now, people are going to come back and say, oh, he was diving for the line. There's a difference in diving for the line forward and just trying to make it to literally coming off your feet, jumping above the player and then putting the ball down. Now, Nigel mentioned that it was illegal. I've had arguments with guys at work who think that, no, it was absolutely fine. He was jumping the line. I mean, what's your genuine opinion on it, gents?
I think...
sorry, Don.
Yeah, a few points. Well done for using Twitter and seeing Nigel Owens' tweet.
No, he texted me.
Oh, yeah. And then second point, cracking knowledge of the rules there. I think it's just one of those in games. I mean, you know, the TMO works wonders and it tears the game apart sometimes in slow motion and looking into things too often. But I mean, it's hard to criticise and say that's illegal, really, isn't it? But I mean,
the letter of the law, it is, and one of the best refs, if not the best ref in the world, has come out and said so. You know,
and, letter of the law. I argued heavily that Scotland's red card was a red card in the letter of the law. So I suppose I better stick to my guns and letter of the law, maybe.
Yeah,
done me there, Neil.
Sorry, mate. Apologies. I had to say something clever eventually. And what about you, Brad? What were your thoughts on it?
Well, was your view intentional contact with his head then? Was that it? Or was it, what element of it made it an out-and-out red in your eyes? Made it go over all ground?
Well, what Don was saying is literally in the law book now, any contact with the head, unless there's mitigating circumstances, is a straight red. And that's why I don't blame the ref.
How's that? how are you not going to contact with someone's head if you're going into a ruck or if you're going into a maul?
It's not.
I know. Okay, you got to lead with binding arms.
Yeah, that's what I was going to.
Yeah, he was he wasn't fully in control of himself going into that ruck.
Mm-hmm.
There's rucks throughout the game. The technique's got to be better.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it was my personal opinion.
Yeah. You were saying, Rab, sorry, about the Johnny May try or no try. What was your honest opinion on that?
Well, it's okay. England won 41-18. What happens if that happens in the red zone in the World Cup final between New Zealand, France, New Zealand, South Africa, whoever? Where are we going with that one then? This is a perfect opportunity to deal with that, take that grey area out of it now. And pass it back to either the referee or the TMO and let them make the judgment.
Yeah.
That's how we played the game for 100 years. Let the referee make his judgment on that one. That looked like a jump at the tackle to me. That's no try.
I agree. I'm an England fan. Don't get me wrong. It's great they gave it. And the athleticism of Johnny May, fair play to him. But I genuinely believe that was an illegal jump. You cannot jump a tackle. I live
in the M62 corridor.
Right.
And for my sins, I'm also a league fan. And every week that happens in Super League and the NRL week in, week out. These huge dives, plops into the corner. Yeah.
What are your views on it, AD? What's your honest opinion? Do you think it was a try or do you think it was an illegal?
I think it's something that we've been not aiming to do, but it's almost been like in that situation at the corner flag. A lot of the times, wingers are off the ground, and effectively they're flying into the truck. They're flying into the, into the touchdown area. So to get contact. Okay, our Welsh boy didn't fly over an individual to do the same, but he was he's airborne. He was Ireland the other week, Wales.
Well, it's interesting the terminology you used then, AD.
Sorry?
It's interesting the terminology you used then. I just want to pull it back for a second because you said into the touchdown area. And it's very interesting you say that because it was very American football-esque, wasn't it?
It was, wasn't it? It was.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it's almost like you get that, it's like if you were number 8 and you were to launch over the top of the scrum to touch down beyond the other number 8's feet, or not quite, okay.
I'd love to see Billy do that.
Pick and go. Instead of going under them, they're going over them, pick and go. Right.
Billy would need a step ladder at the moment.
Lines, right?
I think he'd need to borrow Evel Knievel's motorbike.
And what are your views, Terry? I mean, I'm conscious we need to wrap up shortly. Just keep time low. But what are your views on the May try? And then we'll go into some guesses for next week's games.
No try. Purely the reason the way that he jumped, he tried to hurdle an oncoming tackler. Now, if the tackler had hit his legs, caught him, the tackler would probably got sent off, or at the very least, penalty, yellow card, or whatever.
The man in the air.
Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And now the thing is, he was actually going over the tackler, whereas Rees-Zammit was coming that way with, I think it was Tadhg Furlong, was it? Coming across to hit him that way.
Yes.
That would be, so if Furlong had hit him, that would have been perfectly legal. Whereas if the Italian guy had kind of grabbed him and took, then it opens up a whole can of worms.
Yeah.
Obviously, Nigel Owens knows a lot more about the laws than we do. Yeah, I agree. No try, jumping through the tackle, penalty to Italy, period.
Well, can I just say that, just briefly, that ever since they ruled the corner flag no longer as touch, they do it for the benefit of the attacking player.
Definitely.
I have no doubt this will go the same way. It will be for the attacker to score the try.
Yeah. What were you saying then, AD? Sorry?
No, I was just agreeing with Rab there, really. It opens up those corners.
Yeah.
It means that you don't actually have to defend just the pitch. You've actually got to defend the airspace at either corner flag.
Yeah. Right, so let's get on to, I said next week's games, but obviously we have a week off. Forgive me if I get it in the wrong order, but I believe obviously England are against the old enemies, the Toughs. What's everyone's guess at, I'm not necessarily score, but we'll just say like a nation by, whatever you think it might be. So we'll go to Terry first. I'm pretty sure I know who you're going to say.
We'll sneak it. I've got to be confident because the way we've played the last 2 games, and we are getting better, and historically we always get better through the tournament.
Yeah.
Depends who he picks in the centres, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. I like the thought of that Halaholo at 12 and George North
played
13.
Well when he came on.
Yeah.
I think they'll run rings around the English back line if he picks his usuals.
Mm-hmm.
Who's to say? I mean, this Six Nations has thrown up so many ifs, whys, wherefores, and whatever. I mean, I'd like to see Farrell get sent off to give us a chance. Well,
I don't think, I think you're better off. You're probably better off winning, keeping him on the pitch at the moment, mate. I mean, I do not rate him as a 12 as long as he's got a hole in his ass. Excuse my French, but he is not.
He's never gonna go into a ruck anyway. You're safe.
Yeah,
that's true.
He never uses
in all fairness, guys, I think we've got the ability to sneak it.
Mm-hmm.
It could. I mean, it could go completely tits up and we end up with a 30-point defeat. Who knows? Because England-Wales is one of those that.
Yeah,
well, it's just on the day.
Many times before, Terry. Whenever we come up against Wales, especially in the World Cup, I get so worried because they seem to be our nemesis team. Wales could have lost every game in their group stage and come up against England and smash us just because of the pride of pulling on that red jersey against England. It's just something else. It's going to be an interest. But what are your views, Tom?
Big difference. I got to say, there's a big difference now this week. This forthcoming game, the Millennium Stadium is going to be not the 16th man.
No.
It's not going to be 70,000 Welshmen baying for 15 Englishmen heads.
Yeah.
That's going to be advantageous to the English. But yeah, my heart and my head says we'll sneak it.
I'm pretty sure I know what you're going to say, Dom, but you might surprise me. What are your thoughts?
I agree. England, Wales, no disrespect to Scotland, Ireland, there's always been a bit more needle. And I always feel like, yes, the Welsh want to step up, but I'm hoping England will think, "Fuck me, we need to pull our socks up," and and that works both ways. To pick a winner, I mean, I could quite easily see it both ways, but I mean, I think Wales, if we continue to play the way we do, and we just maintain that backline, I think Wales are going to edge us out this time.
Oh, that's very, very good. What about yourself, Rab and Adi? What are your thoughts? Do you agree with either of these guys? Well, you've got to agree with one of them, I guess.
I think England will bite back because although the win against Italy was a win, it's potentially not enough. I do think it's going to be a really tight game, and I think Wales will push. Wales will give them a game, but if both teams keep 15 men on the park, I think England will, will edge it by a couple of points, maybe a 21-19 or round about that.
Very particular. Not even an approximate score. I like that. It's just straight in there with the put a bet on this. I think Katie's got insight. Not a large gap between the two. Yeah. And what about yourself, Brad? Who do you agree with, should I say?
I think there's a performance waiting in England.
Mm-hmm.
Who's going to get it?
I have a funny feeling that England will pull the stops out here against Wales. I'll take England between 10 and 12 points.
Brave shout.
Nice.
Well, I hope you're right.
I just have a wee feeling in my bones.
No, that's fair enough. And it's be interesting to see. I mean, I'm going to stay impartial this week. Obviously, there's no obvious allegiance to any team for myself. But yeah, so who have Scotland got that week? Just remind me, AD.
Oh, Italy, Ireland as well on Saturday.
Oh, yeah. I'm not doing him in the right order, Dom. I'm sorry, I haven't got it. So, okay, Italy, Ireland. I do apologise. Well, we go to you first, Rab. Obviously, we haven't got an Italian on the call. But what are your thoughts on that?
Depending on his selection, he has right. He's got a problem at 10. Sexton will be available to play. If he puts him in, what message does that send to the other guys? Yeah. Farrell, for his own job, needs a win. If he loses against, heaven forbid, if we lose against Italy, I think they'll have to let him go. For that reason, I think he will stick to his tried and test it. Mm-hmm. Maybe the odd one in, like Jordan Larmour or somebody into the back three to try and give it a little bit of zip. Ireland to win that one by 15.
Yeah. Oh, that's quite a small gap. I would have thought of a lot more.
Listen, that's me heart saying that. Me head saying we might sneak that by about 2 or 3, or Italy could beat us.
Yeah. Very honest of you. Very honest of you. What are you thinking, Dom?
I mean, Ireland. Yeah, like you say, they're going to want to put a performance on. They're going to want to get points on the board. Personally, I think you start Billy Burns at 10. Maybe give Sexton 20 minutes, half an hour maximum, depending on how the game's going. But yeah, Billy Burns at 10 for me, and I'll say Ireland by 20, 25.
Okay. Terry, what are you thinking?
Ireland have got an awesome front five. Mm-hmm. If they play pragmatic rugby and wear down the Italians and and score some early points and keep hammering the forwards, I think I can see Ireland doing them by 30 or 40 points.
Yeah.
I really think if it goes the other way and Ireland try to match them with an expansive game, because let's be honest, those Italians have got no fear. They've got nothing to lose.
Yeah.
They've got nothing to lose. Then I think it could be close. I think Ireland will win, but it's just the margin.
Yeah. No, that's fair. And do you agree with the other? I think it's been nearly a clean sweep so far. Do you agree with everyone, AD?
33-19 to Ireland.
Bang. Nice. Straight on it.
No messing with AD, just straight in there. Like
they've got it. Ireland of they need it. They'll want to bite back. Yeah. A sense of frustration, but they still, they're still no mugs.
Yeah.
When they do, if they put a game together, then they certainly get 35. They may even more than that, but I'll say 35-19.
Nice. Good result. Okie dokie. So on to Scotland, France. Is that right?
Is it Scotland, France, or France, Scotland?
I think you might
France,
be right.
Scotland.
France, yeah, I do apologize. Yeah,
France.
I'm just
it's all together.
My head and my heart are torn on this one, right? Yeah. I know what I think might happen, but I know what I don't want to happen. I think if we play well, right, then I think we can come out on the right side of this. I think France are playing well, but I do think we can push them. If we turn up and keep the men on the park, I think we can be on the right side. It'll be a tight game. I think the heart says.
I think
Scotland 27, France 22.
37-22.
No? 27-22.
27-22. I think you're right. I kind of agree with you there. I think if any team are gonna beat France this year, my money's on Scotland. I don't see England playing special enough. I don't think, but Scotland have got that. They seem to have an extra edge this year, and just have gelled really well. So I was genuinely gutted to see them lose.
Both teams like to throw the ball about.
So I could
see interception tries happening. That's the danger. But it's creative rugby. It's nice to watch.
Yeah.
But it leaves yourself. You are always prone to, someone intercepting and running it up the park.
And what were you going to say then, Rob?
It's going to be expansive open rugby from both teams, I think.
Yeah.
I think this has the potential to be a real epic contest. A real, if Scotland, and I hope they do, I hope they turn up with their A game and give it to France, and France have their A game as well, because I think it would be some tussle. I really like the Scottish pack. Really like, I've been a big admirer of the what you call the brothers Greys, the Greys. Yeah, the
FPs of my school, Richie Gray and the boys.
Yeah. Oh, I watch him in the Pro 14 up in and seeing him down in Exeter now. They're doing great. Scottish backline's exciting. I love the balance that they have between the power and that Van der Merwe he's a wrecking ball. And then you see the gale and the angles that Hogg cut in. What I'd be interested to see, and what I was disappointed in Ireland on Sunday, is nobody put. I mean, we've got a bloody rugby league head coach. No one put a little grubber kick
on the shoulder.
Gael Fickou is a big, strong, powerful defender. What's he like when you turn him 5 yards and he's having to bend down for that ball and you can snot him? We don't know because we didn't try. I hope Finn Russell pulls a few strings, and as it go, it's a game I'm looking forward to. But I think France by 7-10.
Yeah, I mean, once again, I'm not going to give a guesser on this, but I agree with pretty much all you guys. I think France are very strong, but like I mentioned, if there's any team going to beat them, it's going to be Scotland. I think it's going to be an absolute cracker of a game because Scotland just don't know how to give up. Generally, I mean, you took to the last minute, and like you say, Terry, that tap tackle was the only thing that saved that game. The only thing that saved that game, but it's great to see, different games like this that are so contested. So,
like I said, I think if Scotland get points on the board, early doors. Obviously, got someone else in my mind.
Points on the bird.
Well, they're playing against the cockerel.
Yeah, if they get points points on the board nice and early, and they sort of restrict Dupont. If Dupont's got time on the ball and he's controlling the tempo of the game, that's when they're going to suffer. They need to get front foot. Finn Russell needs to be firing on all cylinders, having time on the ball. And if all that comes together, I think Scotland have got this quite easily, to be fair.
Yeah,
I really do. And it pains me to say it as an English fan, but it's great to see.
Really is. I generally thought if Scotland had won that game Saturday just gone, I would have put them in. I would have, if I'd have had some money, put a cheeky bet on them to do the Grand Slam because, like I said, if anyone's going to beat France, it would have been Scotland. And I think if they'd have beaten Wales in that game that was so close, they would have taken so much from that, much, and literally just grown and grown into the next game and to the next game and so on and so forth. But it's fantastic. I mean, AD, you won't mind me saying, but Scotland have been the whipping boys for years, right? For years. And it is so good to see them up there now, beating England. I'm excited to see the French game as well. And it's just amazing. It's really, really good to see. And
I really do feel whoever wins this is likely to win the championship overall.
Yeah, I think so. I think so too.
I think had this game been in at Murrayfield, I would have quite happily put some money on Scotland doing it because they realised how close they were to beating Wales, and the Scottish, even Celtic psyche is, hey, that's enough. We're going to come back with and really hammer somebody.
Yeah.
Because it's in France, I think France will sneak it.
Yeah.
If Dupont and Jalibert control the game like they have done in the past two games, if Hamish Watson is on fire, if somebody can give him a dynamite enema and get him to really, really hunt down Jalibert,
he will do. He will do.
Then I think you've got a good fighting chance. And we all know what the French mindset is. Once they start getting rocked, they start making mistakes. You start getting penalties against them. Who's to say you can't do it? I love the look of the Scottish backline. I think the two centres, Lang. Well, you've got three centres there, really. Lang, Redpath, and Harris, who could walk into any team. And to be perfectly honest with you,
Shame Redpath was injured for Saturday there.
Yeah,
but Lang didn't let him down.
No, I know. Yeah.
you know, you've got Darcy Graham on one wing, you got the diminutive little flyer, Shane Williams on one wing, and then you got that monster of a South African on the other wing.
Yeah.
And with Hogg and Russell in between, you know, pulling the strings. Yeah, I totally agree with you, Neil. I think
there's threat in various, you know, I mean, that's it. You've got threat from everywhere in the back line.
Absolutely.
You know,
and that's how I want to see Wales come up to progressing to.
And any one of them will run at you.
Here's a question for you, Eddie.
You know, and not just look to offload.
Yeah.
Eddie, how do you feel about having more than one or two jocks in the running for a Lions tour?
See, what I mean, it's, to be fair,
it's great. I love it.
Been in there before, but it's just never happened, you know. But
he wasn't alive last time that happened.
That's it, exactly.
If I'm honest, if I can cut in there, the only player I genuinely believe who deserves, from the England team, who deserves a Lions shirt at the moment is Itoje.
Yeah.
I think anyone else hasn't.
I'd include Sam Underhill as well, because he hasn't played, has he?
No. But no, I mean, Itoje he's one of the only Saracens player, if not the only Saracens player, who's still looks as fit as a fiddle, kept his fit, you know, done what he needs to do, and still going on leaps and bounds. You know, he's just a monster.
Yeah.
And I think if it were me, I think he'd be the only safe England name on the Lions team sheet at the moment. I think Scotland, obviously, I think half the back line should be made up of Scottish. I think that Louis Rees-Zammit is a shoo-in for one wing. I would have said Johnny May before 2 weeks ago. But to see him have an absolute mare, don't get me wrong, everyone has a bad day at the office, but that was uncharacteristic for him. So he would be a finisher for me.
He'll still make the plane. He'll still be on the plane.
Yeah. But it's exciting to see that, like you say, it's not predominantly Welsh, predominantly English. It's going to be such a mix this time, if it goes ahead, obviously. But no, that's brilliant. I mean, unless there's anything that anyone else wants to add, you know, we'll kind of wrap it up there. But gents, can I just add, you know, from Dom and myself, thank you so much for coming on. AD, thank you
thank you very much.
Put yourself through it again. But gents, you know, we'd love to have you back on. Obviously, we've got a week break this week. We'll wrap up again following the next game. And you know, it'd be a pleasure to have you guys on again.